Hey Track Gang, what's going on in this week's episode of the Boeville in Newtown? Well, it's right over here. Stand by and we'll get into what's happening this week. Well, good evening, folks, and tonight we're doing something a little bit different. This is a special video. This is kind of a review video, I guess, talking about the Mantua Goat, which is the front locomotive, and the Camelback, which is the rear locomotive. These are both painted up for the Reading. These are both Mantua classics or collectibles from the 1990s. A couple of interesting facts before we really dive into this is the fact that there were two different models made of these particular locomotives. There was their normal run, which was just a normal Mantua run, and then there were the collectible run, which has the certificate of authenticity with them that also tells you how many of them were made. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do in researching for tonight's video is I wanted to pull out that catalog from the 90s that actually had these locomotives listed and how many of them were actually made and what they listed for back in the 90s. Unfortunately, the internet did not turn up much at all, other than the fact that I did find that, like I said, that Mantua made these in both the collectibles line and in their normal line, and obviously the collectible line is a little bit more detailed, and we're going to get into that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Goat as it is first. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of move him out of the way for a moment. So the Goat, which is also an 040 switcher, an interesting design. Obviously the cab is on top of the boiler. You have the firebox in the back. Now if you're looking at this locomotive, and I'm hoping it's showing up on camera, it may not, but we'll give it a shot here. There are railings down the side here on both sides. There is a uncoupling lever on the front. There's also a set of handrails on the back here. I do believe, and of course I don't have power applied to this at the moment. Now these are DC. These are not DCC at all. And one other thing that you may notice right off the bat is that the drawbar was replaced. In looking at it, one of the things I found after I got these was apparently the original drawbar had broke, and there was actually there's another drawbar in the box, and whoever had these before made up another one, and I have a feeling something similar to the 611, that the drawbar was way too close for tight radius corners and the tender was hitting the locomotive. That's all well and good, that's fine. So I've left this replacement on here. Now I'm going to turn the locomotive around. Maybe. So we can see the other side. Now you'll also notice now this side, the tender is picking up power from one rail. The locomotive picks up power from the other rail. So that's how we're getting power into the locomotive itself. One other thing of note is that this locomotive does have traction tires, which makes it a little bit hard to drag it across the tracks. But there are a lot of extra little details on here as well. There is a bell, and the bell moves. Like I said, we've got the grab irons on the front of the locomotive here, and here you've got your steam valves, your steam dome, There is, like I said before, there is an uncoupling lever that goes across the front. Now, right now, I've got horn hooks on this. It did come with KDs. In fact, the Camelback, I've already changed. I just got finished changing out that coupler because what I want to run behind it has horn hooks and not KDs. In some other research, I found out that the Goat was used on industrial lines and in yards as a yard switcher. And of course the Goat, or I'm sorry, the Camelback, which is the locomotive we'll look at here in a minute, that was actually also used specifically for industrial switching. They also did, which was amazing to me, they also did pull passenger trains with these, which was interesting. Well, maybe not so much the Goat, but the Camelback, they apparently did pull some passenger trains with. So other than that, like I said, for being what it is, and considering the fact that these things are 30 years old, the detail on this, and it's also a die-cast locomotive, it's not plastic, the detail on this thing is rather good for its age. So we're going to spin this back around here. I may end up cutting that out, but... And then we're going to move him out of the way for the moment. And then we're going to bring back in the Camelback. Now, the Camelback, of course it's out of screen, is a 462. There's 4 guide wheels, 6 drivers, and then 2 trailing. This is a very unique setup in the fact that, and this is something that in HO scale has been done quite a bit, this center driver is not flanged, so it can go around tighter radius corners. 18-inch radius and smaller, it could actually probably even make it around a 15-inch radius if you really wanted it to. Obviously, my railroad, I am running 15-inch radius, but this thing will never see it. Again, the details, you have your grab iron or your railing up here, you've got your valves here, you've got the railings on the back. Again, the cab is on top of the boiler. This here also has a moving bell, I believe. Yeah, and it's just stuck. Let's see if I can get it in. There we go. No, it doesn't matter which side it's on. It's just stuck in there. Okay, I'll have to take a little closer look at that. Obviously, you've got your domes. The other unique thing with this locomotive that I was noticing earlier is the fact that there is actually a platform back here for where they would go ahead and drive the coal and put it into the locomotive. So that's where your fireman would be standing. So he's actually on a platform that is actually behind the locomotive, in between the locomotive and the tender. We're going to go ahead and there's also railings on the back here. There is the hatch for the water, because this here would actually hold coal and water. I don't know why I'm trying to do that with that in my hand. We're going to swing this guy in the other direction. And just like the Goat, the Camelback picks up power from run rail on the tender and then from the locomotive wheels on the other side. This one does not have traction tires. It's heavy enough that it doesn't need them. So again, you've got the railings up here, you've got your railings here, you've got your steam whistle up here. And I am doing this in a really bad spot. I just knocked over, or knocked out a piece of wood that I had here for one of my control panels. On the front, again, you have your uncoupling lever, which moves. Other than that, the rear, or the trailing truck is sprung, and so is the front. That's one of the things that we've all kind of talked about with 611. how the front truck does not have a spring in it, and that might be part of some of the things that I've been fighting with it. Looks like you've got water heater up on top here, probably a steam, basically an extra generator for pulling passenger trains. Other than that, I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to hook these things up to some cars, or so to some rolling stock, and let them have some fun, because that's one thing I haven't done yet. So give me a minute and we'll be right back. Okay, well, let's see what happens here. That is at 40% power, and these, of course, are the Boeville Express passenger cars, which have been weighted to NMRA standard, and we just stalled on the switch because I don't have the power up on this thing. I was only at 41%. So let's go ahead and give it a little bit more power and see if we can get it to rock and roll here. Like I said, it stalled on the turnout. And of course, once you give it some power, that's pretty impressive for a 30-year-old locomotive pulling weighted passenger cars. Okay, so after a slightly interesting issue with track power, I was finally able to get the goat, or I'm sorry, the Camelback to pull the other set of Boeville Express cars. So there we have it. I think these do pretty good, considering the considering the age and what they are. Hopefully, I'm just going to swing the camera. I'm not going to bother stopping it. Ooh. So, I just realized that this camera is way off kilter. It's because of the fact that I actually dropped the tripod a little bit so I could get a better shot of the locomotives going across the layout. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoy this little review video of the Mantua Collectibles 040 Goat and 462 Camelback. Very nice units, like I've said before. They are die cast and they are collectible. They only made, and I wish I could find the paperwork, but I believe it was either 1,500 or 2,000 of these, which sounds like a big number until you figure, you know, how many people probably did pick these up, and now 30 some years later, how many of them are still around? Which is one of the reasons why when Anthony from Georgia Sun Belt posted that video a few weeks back, and I saw those, I was like, I've got to have them. They were two of those other kind of obscure locomotives that I had kind of always been on the lookout for, and you know, now I've got them. There is one more that was a part of that run. That was called the Royal Blue. It was a Baltimore and Ohio 462 that was painted flat baby blue. I haven't seen them. I've only seen pictures of them. So I'll keep my eyes out for that, but you know, little by little, I'll go ahead and finish off this collection. So you all know the deal. Wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. Oh, before I forget it, there's going to be a link in the description to. If anybody's familiar with Sidetrack Sunday, when it was first brought into being back in 2020. What was supposed to happen on Christmas of 2020, or at least a holiday show of 2020, Jason, Heath, and John, along with Rick Bailey from the Phillips Bailey Model Railroad. Actually, I'll back that up a second. So John from Schuylkill River Valley, John number 2, Jason the Train Freak, Heath from Humanity Junction, and then Rick from the Phillips Bailey Model Railroad, were going to surprise me on the holiday show. Unfortunately, that got lost in the mail, and it eventually did show up in January, and on the very next STS that I did, I was told to open it up, and it happened to be Blackjack, which is by far one of the locomotives that I have wanted for a long time, mainly because of its historical background. After they got done pranking me, basically, we then proceeded to get Heath, we got Rick, and then we got Jason, which meant that there was only one person in the original crew that hadn't been hit, and that was John number 2. He follows a very, talk about obscure, but he follows a very obscure railroad called the UMP, which is the Upper Merion and Plymouth. So we proceeded to try and track down some stuff for John. Well, I'm not going to spoil it. Of course, most of you have probably already seen it, but those who haven't, we took over On Track Tuesday this past week, which was the last Tuesday of the month, and we basically pranked John. He thought he was opening up a package of giveaway pieces, not realizing that he was the unwilling recipient of those giveaway pieces. So, congrats again, John. Again, we wouldn't be doing the things that we're doing if it weren't for you coming to me and asking me to expand Sidetrack Sunday. It has been a heck of a ride, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future. Now we have, as it sits, it's John number 2 on the first Sunday of the month. Heath, this will be the last month that Heath does the second Sunday. Now I'm getting the Sundays and the Tuesdays mixed up. The other night I tried to say it was Sidetrack Sunday, and it was Tuesday. Now I'm trying to put things on Tuesday. But anyway, so Heath is going to take a step back after his show in June. Nisi has stepped up and decided she will take the second Sunday of the month. So in July, Nisi will be taking that spot. Rick has the number 3 spot. I still have the number 4 spot. And Heath and Jason, for right now, are going to hold on to the number 5 spot. Of course, there are a few 5th Sundays. I think there may be still 1 or 2, maybe 3 coming up this year. So we'll see how that plays out. But like I said, as you've probably all heard by now, Heath is going to slide into the number 5 spot, and Nisi is going to move up to the number 2 slot. So Sidetrack Sunday isn't going anywhere. Emma, really? Right now? You have to make all that noise right now. Come here. Come here. Come here. See, I just went for a walk. Now I want attention. Anyway, so I'll put a link to the video in the description below. And again, you all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see ya.